This is perfect for the Eagles, as we just received a massive Eagles coaching update with this former offensive coordinator for the Houston Texans being at the top of my list as being the overall favorite to be the next offensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll break all of this down and more on another edition of Eagles Digest. What's going on, guys? Alex Brooks back here with another episode of Eagles Digest to break down this offensive coordinator search for the Philadelphia Eagles to get a new play caller and a new offensive identity for this Eagles team. The Eagles have all of the weapons in the world. They have A.J. Brown, DeVonta Smith, Saquon Barkley, and Jalen Hurts. They just need to have the cook that needs to go in the kitchen and use those ingredients to go on another Super Bowl run in 2026. But before we get into all of that, here is a word from our sponsor. Before we get into all the news today, this video is brought to you by Kalshi. When you download Kalshi using the link below and enter the code DIGESTNFL, you'll get $20 when you trade your first $100. Kalshi is the largest prediction market in the United States. On their platform, you can trade yes or no on real-life events, whether it's sports, elections, news, and pretty much everything that you can think of. And it is live in all 50 states, including Philadelphia. For sports fans, you can trade on game outcomes, playoff chances, or player performances, all in a regulated market where you can cash out at any time. For example, for the AFC Championship, it's between the Patriots and the Denver Broncos. They're not giving the Denver Broncos any chance with Jarrett Stidham starting in place of Bo Nix. But if you feel like they can pull a 2017 Nick Foles out of their hat, go in and get on all the action and go trade for Denver to win the AFC Championship. And it's not just game outcome, guys. There is anytime touchdown, first touchdown, 2+ touchdowns. You can get in on all the action, whether it's RJ Harvey, Stephon Diggs, or anybody that you can think of regarding the Denver Broncos and the New England Patriots. You can go and trade for one of these guys. And then it's not just that, it is wins over 6.5 points, over 40.5 points scored. Any sort of thing that you can think of is right there for the taking on Kalshi. It is genuinely a smarter way to use your sports or news knowledge, and you can close positions whenever you want to. So download Kalshi with the link in the description, and don't forget to use the code DIGESTNFL to get your $20 bonus. And thank you once again to Kalshi for sponsoring this video. And for everyone else, let's get back to this video. And as we dive deep into the offensive coordinator search for the Philadelphia Eagles, we are going to start with Bobby Slowik, as it was reported from Adam Schefter today that the Philadelphia Eagles have interviewed Miami Dolphins senior passing game coordinator Bobby Slowik for their offensive coordinator position, according to Adam Schefter. Slowik, 38, is from Princeton, New Jersey. He was the Houston Texans offensive coordinator in 2023 and 2024, and the passing game coordinator of the San Francisco 49ers in 2022. So when we talk about Bobby Slowik and what we can kind of dive deep on how he was able to help out CJ Stroud, that shouldn't be overlooked, because he was one of the hot up and coming head coaching candidates after the 2023 season. He decided he wanted to stay with the Houston Texans as the offensive coordinator, but going into that 2024 season, a lot of teams were thinking of Bobby Slowik being a potential head coaching candidate. And then the offense for the Houston Texans, they dealt with injuries, but they dealt with a major regression on their offensive side of the ball, including CJ Stroud in 2024. There was a lot of different elements that I'll get into regarding Bobby Slowik and his fit for the Philadelphia Eagles, but I definitely think he should be at the top of everybody's list just based on how much play calling experience he's had and how much experience he's worked under really great coaches, including Kyle Shanahan. So we're going to dive deep into his profile. As you guys know, I did this with Declan Doyle yesterday, talking about the positives and negatives, and I'm going to do the same thing with Bobby Slowik. So the offensive coordinator candidate that the Eagles interviewed, Bobby Slowik, he's a former Dolphins passing game coordinator, former Texans offensive coordinator in 2023 and 2024. He has experience coaching under Kyle Shanahan and Mike McDaniel, respectively. And then when we talk about his positives, we'll get right into this. He is learned from Kyle Shanahan. He spent a lot of time with Kyle Shanahan, learning just the West Coast type of offense, and he really brings a lot of different types of looks when it comes to the passing scheme and the run schemes with the West Coast offense that, we're accustomed to seeing with Kyle Shanahan. Unfortunately, seeing him, beat us two straight times, one in 2023 and in 2025 in the playoffs just a couple of weeks ago. But with Bobby Slowik, he kind of brings that different type of flair with an offense, and learning from Kyle Shanahan, one of the best offensive minds in the whole NFL. That is definitely a positive when you look at that, just learning from that guy and having experience calling plays. I think with Bobby Slowik, he's probably the most recent type of guy that you would want to bring into an Eagles offense, because you can trust that he has been able to call plays and call plays in playoff games. He's been able to win a couple playoff games with CJ Stroud at the helm. So that is a huge boost of confidence if you think that, he can call during the regular season, but if he's able to do it in the postseason and doing consistently, that is something that I can really, be confident in saying him as the lead play caller in Philadelphia. And then the Stroud development in 2023 and 2024. 2023 was a phenomenal year for CJ Stroud. He developed Stroud to be the rookie of the year and had one of the best statistical rookie seasons in all of NFL history. And he just has a lot of, different things that he can throw out there on the offensive side of the ball. And his development with CJ Stroud can go hand in hand with Jalen Hurts. He was able to challenge CJ Stroud and throwing, in the middle of the field, and be able to make those big plays, but also be able to run a really good modern style offense. And that's what Jalen Hurts needs. He needs a guy who is going to challenge him and be able to really develop himself into another tier as a quarterback. And then the West Coast Shanahan offensive scheme, I mentioned that if he brings that to Philly, it's going to help the wide receivers out. It's going to help the running backs. It's going to help everybody together to just come together and be a really good, well-oiled machine, and know that, yes, you have the defense who Vic Fangio is going to take care of that, but you know that with Nick Sirianni, knowing that Bobby Slowik is going to take full autonomy over this offense, you can have trust that he can be able to lead this offense to really new heights. Because at the end of the day, the Eagles have a lot of weapons that they have at their disposal. And Bobby Slowik, if he wants to really just get back to that head coaching type of hire or head coaching type of potential, Philadelphia is a perfect position for him to show everybody, the whole world, Philadelphia is the toughest place to play football. If you can go in there and you can show the whole world that you can be a really good, play caller, he's going to get a head coaching candidate for sure in 2027. And, when we talk about the positives, we have to go with the negatives. The negatives of Bobby Slowik was 2024 a mirage or a sign to come? That is the biggest thing, because CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans offense took a huge dip that I'll get into in just a little bit, but it was definitely a very bad regression. There was a lot of offensive line, like it was a big, makeshift offensive line in 2024 for the Houston Texans, and they weren't able to move the ball as effectively as they did in 2023. And he really fell out of favor for an offensive coordinator position, not just a head coaching position, but he fell out of favor to even be an offensive coordinator. So it looked like that was a big red flag coming out of the 2024 season, not knowing that he didn't have any sort of progress as being an offensive coordinator for another team. He had a very predictable offense in 2024. Yes, he dealt with a lot of injuries, but it still was a lot of a lot of struggles when it comes to the offensive side of the ball. There was a lot of players that said, I don't know what the hell type of offense we're running at this point. And that's a big red flag when looking at an offensive coordinator candidate. And then the biggest thing is that he heavily relied on the running back. Kellen Moore, Nick Sirianni, and this Eagles offense in 2024 really heavily relied on Saquon Barkley. Not saying that that is a big negative, but at the end of the day, we saw how much people adjusted to Saquon Barkley and how the offensive line and this Eagles offense couldn't rely on Saquon Barkley and the running back position to lead them back to a championship type of team. So if you're looking at the Eagles right now, you don't want to just have someone who's just going to heavily rely on the running back and not challenge Jalen Hurts. So a big type of thing right now. If the O-line struggles again for the Philadelphia Eagles, you're going to have to come up with some passing schemes, and you're going to want to have Bobby Slowik to really, you have confidence in him to really adjust on the fly if, the running game doesn't work out. So a lot of positives, a lot of negatives. I definitely think that he is a huge candidate when it comes to the Eagles offense. I definitely think with what he's been able to do, just his track record, and being able to just be like, hey, I know that I didn't do well in 2024, goes down to a passing game coordinator in the Miami Dolphins, gets more experience in a different role, then comes back and, takes a risk on himself, knowing that, hey, if I do really good in Philadelphia, I can get a head coaching type of role, or I can get a head coaching position in 2027 and really revive your type of career. And I know the Eagles are really passionate about doing that with a lot of the candidates that they interview and a lot of coaches that they bring in. And when we talk about the offense for the Texans between the numbers from 2023 and 2024, it is a big drop off. When we come to the 2023 total offense, it was 12th, 2024, 22nd. 2023 passing offense was 7th, then it dropped all the way down to 21st. The scoring offense was 14th, dropped down to 19th. So these numbers from 2023 to 2024 are very alarming, very staggering, because this is something where, is this going to be the Bobby Slowik type of offense that's going to be in 2024, or are we going to trust that that was just because of offensive line health issues, defenses adjusting on the fly to CJ Stroud and really taking advantage of his limitations? Or was it something where the offense got very predictable at the end of the day? Because when we know about this Eagles offense is, if you bring someone in here and they are very predictable, they are going to be out of a job following their season. And this is really a big type of deal for the Philadelphia Eagles, because if they don't get this right, then we are going to see a lot of heads roll, and it's going to start at the head coach position in Nick Sirianni. So it's not just the offensive coordinator, uh, Bobby Slowik, if he comes in here saving his job, it's saving pretty much a lot of people's jobs, including the head man at Nick Sirianni. So definitely going to be interesting moving forward on what the Eagles value with Bobby Slowik as their offense coordinator. But I definitely think that this should be at the top of the list, because I believe that he deserves a second chance, and what he has with his experience with under Kyle Shanahan and running a pro style West Coast type of offense, that is definitely the candidate and definitely the guy I want in here to just challenge Jalen Hurts, really get this offense going, because you have all the weapons there. And if you have a really brilliant mind in offense, you can go a long way in NFL. And we've seen it with Kellen Moore going to the Super Bowl. We've seen it with Frank Reich and Shane Steichen. Let's do it once again with Bobby Slowik in 2026. But that's going to do it for another edition of Eagles Digest. Wanted to raise the question to you guys. Do you believe Bobby Slowik is the perfect candidate for the Eagles offensive coordinator job? Comment your thoughts down below. Let me know what you think regarding Bobby Slowik and what I showed you regarding his, progression, his regression, and all the things he was able to do with the Houston Texans. So hope you guys have a great rest of your day. We're going to have more coverage here on Eagles Digest regarding the Eagles offensive coordinator search. So stay tuned for that. And as always, let's go Birds.